Hello and welcome to SIMRadio here on the Sisters in Music Network. It's Monday Music Madness and you're tuned in to Mixing It with Nicki Kris. This is Nicki, and in case you don't know anything about me, I'm a singer-songwriter from Raleigh, North Carolina. My show celebrates women in the music and entertainment industry, providing an avenue for them to showcase their talent. Our motto, Sisters in Music, together we are stronger. My guest today is a 16-year-old high school student from Michigan who is also a budding recording artist out of Nashville, Tennessee. She's been writing and singing for as long as she can remember. A winner of the Delton Idol competition in 2019 and working under the tutelage of Carter Frodge, she is honing her songwriting craft and building a fan base encompassing the artist that she wants to become. Please join me in welcoming the sweet and super talented LeAnn. Welcome to Mixing It, LeAnn. Thank you so very much for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. I'm really excited to share you with everyone. Can you give us a little bit of history of how you got started in music?
Yeah, sure. So I kind of started when I would put myself out and saying I started wanting to do music around 6th grade. I mean, I've always loved to sing, but 6th grade was really when I started trying to become more invested in it. And I used to be like super shy, super nervous when I would sing in front of people. And so I didn't want to sing in front of my parents, my friends, family, anything really. And my dad was always kind of like, you have a good voice, because he'd hear me singing in the shower or something. And he was just like, my dad's always been like big supporter of mine, my mom too. But they were like, let's get you doing some stuff at school, like just to start. And so I kind of just started doing plays and musicals at my school, joined the choir at my church. And that's when I started enjoying singing and kind of getting that push to continue to do it in front of my peers, because I feel like that's one of the hardest audiences you have to face as an artist, is kind of like people in your own age group, especially being 16.
Oh, I would so definitely agree with that. It takes me back to when I was in high school many years ago, but that it's still the same today. Your peers are always
right.
your biggest critics, and if you have their support and you feel comfortable performing in front of them, that just makes all the difference. How would you describe your music? Is there something unique or uncommon about it that potentially sets you apart from others in your genre?
I've never really been able to navigate a specific genre for myself. I kind of went back and forth when I first started doing music. I was really into the whole country scheme of things. And, as I developed and was trying to find myself as an artist, I kind of realized that wasn't really where I wanted to be. It wasn't the type of music I listened to, and it wasn't really the type of stuff I wanted to put out. And so eventually I was just like, this is not for me, and we kind of moved on. And my songwriting has become, for me, more indie pop vibes. But I also my songwriting, I've grown. I love doing relationship-based songs, and that's really like my top thing. And, I get a lot of people who are like, oh, I love the sad music. I love the the love songs, the relationship stuff, and that's what I really love doing. And then you get some people who are like, oh, why are you so sad? But, that it is what it is. But
yeah, it definitely is.
I think it's sad, but also it's kind of like, I want to do what I want to do, and I will find people who love it. And that's always kind of been my thing, is like, I want to make the type of music I want to make. I don't want to form the type of music I make around other people's opinions of me, but rather I want to make my music and let other people who enjoy it find me.
That's a wonderful philosophy to have. I love that. Love that. And it's actually refreshing to hear from a young artist to say that, because nowadays I feel, and if you've listened to my show, you hear me talk a lot about cookie cutter. I feel that so much is so cookie cutter today in music that is almost very boring. Right. And there appears to be, in many cases, of what I'm hearing on the radio, no originality whatsoever. It's just all very much, different lyrics around the same beat. And, so it's great. It's great to hear that you want to be true to yourself. I like that. Yeah. So you released your debut EP in November 2020. Way cool.
Yeah.
Why did you title it Young Love?
You know what? I released a single. The first single that I released off the EP was Young Love. And, I was just kind of going through and I was trying to find another name for this EP. And I was just like looking at all these songs and I was like, why don't we just name it Young Love? Like the whole thing. I mean, I'm at the time I was 15 years old. And, all of the songs, as I said, are sort of relationship-based songs. And so it's just like, these are all young love songs. Like, I'm still little, like I'm still a kid. And I just did this whole EP is sort of like very nostalgic. It could be nostalgic for like older people and even for young people just to sort of sit in it. It's young love. So that's why I wanted to name it that.
Awesome. And what artists were you inspired by on the EP? Was there any particular artists that influenced some of the writing?
I would definitely say for writing stylistically, I would say definitely for the Young Love EP, the top inspiration had to have been Gracie Abrams for sure. I'm so in love with her and her writing. I've also drawn inspiration from Taylor Swift. She's a bigger artist, but her writing is like phenomenal.
I would certainly agree with that. She does have a very broad, unique writing style. So that's definitely a good inspiration to follow. Yep. Love her. What is your favorite song on the EP and why?
Ooh, I've gone back and forth with this one so much because originally my favorite off the EP was I Love You. And for me, that song was just super personal to me. And I've always been like a sucker for the really stripped back sort of acoustic stuff. And that song kind of encapsulated everything that I wanted in a song on the EP at the time. Because I just felt like every song I wanted to be super acoustic. And then once I got to the studio, we just hyped it up so much that it didn't feel totally mine anymore. And this song, I Love You, I wrote all by myself, and we didn't actually end up changing any of the lyrics when I went into the studio, and we didn't change any melodies, and I got to keep it totally true to me, and I think that's why it was my favorite.
Excellent. Guys, we're going to actually hear a song off the EP, but I'm going to ask LeAnn to describe it a little bit. So it's not the song that she just said is her favorite. It is actually the title track, Young Love. So tell us a little bit about that.
So Young Love, when I went into the studio with this song, it originally started as a breakup song. And that's how a lot of the songs I write start. And then my producer is such a positive person. Carter is so awesome. And, he's a little bit older than me. And so when he was younger, music was generally kind of happier. And so he's always like, well, let's try to make this have like a positive ending. Like it can start sad, but I want us to get somewhere and get closer to being happier, right? And so the song turned from a breakup song to sort of being reminiscent on a relationship that you may have had or like a summer fling, and just kind of thinking like what would have happened, like what if we could go back to then, like it was such a good time, so sad that we fell off, but like I'll never forget you type of thing. And so it's just a reminiscent song of a summer fling, and it ended up turning out super great, and I think it came out just how I wanted it to.
Fantastic. I have listened to this. It is lovely. I absolutely love it, and I'm going to have some comments for LeAnn after we pop it in. So we're going to pop in the title track. It's called Young Love off the same name EP. Here it is. This is LeAnn with Young Love.
Long nights underneath the sky, and you and I, we were both falling. Never quite knew what we were doing. You and I, we were just falling. We were living in the moment, never had a care in the world. Do you wish that we could go back? What if we could go back to summer nights and holding me tight, chasing butterflies in mid-July? Do you remember sneaking out your parents' house? We'd do anything to just get out. I didn't know how much I'd miss it. Time passed, the colors faded. You and I started changing. We were perfect on paper, but now we're more like strangers. What happened to the wonder? We were on top of the world. Now I'm having flashbacks, and I wish that I could go back to summer nights and holding me tight, chasing butterflies in mid-July. Do you remember sneaking out your parents' house? We'd do anything to just get out. I didn't know how much I'd miss the summer we were in. Young love, young love, young love. The summer we were in. Young love, young love, young love. I wish that we could go back. What if we could go back to summer nights and holding me tight, chasing butterflies in mid-July? Do you remember sneaking out your parents' house? We'd do anything to just get out. I didn't know how much I missed the summer we were in. Young love, young love, young love. The summer we were in. Young love, young love, young love. The summer we were in. Young love, young love, young love. The summer we were in. Young love, young love, young love. Do you remember?
Love it. And like I said, I am actually extremely impressed. The gentleman that you're working with, Carter, is brilliant. And you appear to have significant talent because your writing and vocal performance on this track is extremely impressive, especially at 16. And
Thank you.
Job well done to the two of you because it really is a fantastic song. So congrats
I really appreciate
on that.
Thank you.
You are most welcome. Most welcome. So tell us a little bit about your writing process. You know, what does it look like? Do you follow a specific methodology, and how often do you write?
When I first started writing, I struggled a lot with sort of coming up with the same melodies over and over and over again. And, you know, my writing has significantly grown, especially since I started writing a couple of years ago. And I think when I really started hitting writing and getting super into it was actually over quarantine. I just had so much time on my hands that I was like, I just want to write and write and write and write. And so I ended up writing like probably every other day during quarantine. And since then it's built up, and I write something every day, if not like multiple things a day. And it might not always be like an entire song. It could be like a song or even just a verse that I think of, but I am writing every day. And my process sort of looks like my favorite way to go about it is either picking up the guitar or picking up the piano and just playing chords that I love, or sort of just playing chords that I've heard in other people's songs that I love, and sort of messing around with their chords from their songs and seeing if I can come up with like a cool melody over it. So melody for me always comes first, and then lyrics generally come after.
So that's really fun, because one of the questions, and I'm actually gonna hop to it, because the way that you just said that you actually write is interesting, because I'm always looking for like tips and tricks. And I usually ask all of my songwriters, it's one of my signature questions, songwriting tips that you would like to share. So it sounds like you actually have some tricks in your bag. I was hesitant to ask you the question because you are just starting out, but it definitely sounds like you have some tips and tricks. Very interesting with the writing melodies over various artists' song, chord structures and things like that. Because like I do weird things like that too, where I like deconstruct a song and say, I really like this progression. Let me see if I can make something out of that. And that's fun. That's really fun. So any tips or tricks that you might want to share with other budding songwriters?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I obviously, I was just talking to you about that one trick that I do, and that's sort of a more recent thing that I've started doing like in the past year, but I get really lost sometimes in the same rhythm or the same tempo of a song, and I don't even realize I do it, but I'll be playing the piano, and it's the same amount of time between switching chords for like multiple of my songs, and I was like, well, why is it like this? Because maybe it's just because I don't have production on it yet or something. But then when I started, switching the chords, when playing them how other people's songs are played, I was able to sort of mix up the tempo of my songs and sort of get different sounding songs that I wasn't getting out of before. And especially writing over like artist songs that I really love, it has made like such a difference for me. And yeah, so I would really recommend that if you guys haven't tried that yet. It's really good.
Awesome. That is a great, fantastic tip. Really great. So any artists or any producers that you might want to like co-write or collaborate with in the future?
Yes, definitely. My biggest, my ultimate favorite artist of all time right now is Phoebe Bridgers. I am so obsessed with her. She's just so awesome. She was nominated for a Grammy. I'm like in love with her. All of her music. I don't think there's a single song out that she has that I'm like not totally obsessed with. And her writing is just so different and intricate. And I just love how she's so herself in her songs. It's crazy. And then for a producer, it's kind of a stretch, but I think Jack Antonoff would be super cool to work with. I love all the production he does on Taylor's new album, Clairo's new album, and even Bleacher, which is his own band. But yeah, love him.
Awesome. Phoebe Bridgers is not a name that I'm familiar with, so I'm actually going to have to go check her out.
Oh my gosh, yes, go check her out. She's so cool. And her music I get a lot of the time. I didn't even know of her a couple years ago, and then people were just like, you sound like this girl. And I was like, I don't know who that is. And so I went and looked at her music, and I mean, I don't really personally hear it, but it might just be like in my head because I know exactly what I sound like. But she's awesome. I fell in love with her. So definitely recommend.
Awesome. So I'm going to go check that one out. And I guarantee you, if she sounds like you, then I'm sure I'm going to be a fan. Definitely.
Thank you.
So this is actually a really great place for us to take a short break for a word from one of our partners in podcasting. Here is Chatting with Nat. We'll be right back on Mixing It with Nicki Kris here on SIMRadio.
Chatting with Nat is a podcast for independent women seeking to speak their truth and to break down barriers. We host honest conversations that help to guide and empower women. Speak your truth and set yourself free. Let your voice be heard.
And we're back on Mixing It with Nicki Kris on the SIMRadio network. And my guest, up-and-coming artist, LeAnn. Ada, what do you most enjoy being an artist?
About being an artist, I think my favorite thing is just being able to be so unapologetic with myself. And I think that contradicts itself at times, because at times it feels like you have to sort of meet a standard or be something for someone else or the world in general. But also I think with being an artist, people are always looking for differences and, different things in people that kind of stand out to them. And so you can do whatever you want. And I've noticed when I get so nervous about like making decisions for songs or anything like that, it's really cool because there's always somebody who likes it. And for me right now, especially with how cool it is that we can do social media, and that was obviously a huge help during quarantine, but I just think it's so awesome that we can project our music out to the world now without having to, tour or travel. It's super awesome that we're able to just put ourselves out there, and I just think it's really awesome to be an artist right now and be able to share your original songs, and inevitably people are going to hear them. I just think it's so cool. Having that feedback is so awesome, and hearing that your music can like touch other people has been like a huge one for me, because I just think it's so cool that people can be impacted by my music in the same way that I'm impacted by my favorite artists. And it's crazy to me to think about, because I'm like, I'm 16, very underground artist type thing, but it's cool because you still get people that are like, this song, like, this made me cry, brought tears to my eyes. Like, it's just been really awesome to see how my music can influence people in the same way that I'm influenced by my favorite artists.
Yeah, it's one of the most wonderful things about being singer-songwriter, even if somebody else is actually performing or recording your songs, the fact that your words and your music, regardless of who's singing it, obviously, I do think that artists who perform their own creations tend to have a different type of emotion in the recorded song. Definitely think that comes through when somebody actually records their own song. But even if you write for somebody else, it's the whole methodology and thought process of your words and your music made somebody else feel something. And I know, even for me, to this day, when people say, I loved this song on, heard it on this, and I just was so, made me feel this way. It definitely does warm at the heartstrings, I guess you could say, because I agree with you. It's one thing to be inspired by the artists that you listen to and the artists that inspire your creations, or even, encourage you to continue to do what you're doing. But when you actually do that for somebody else, it definitely has an impact.
Right.
Fabulous. So besides music, what other hobbies or interests do you have? I'm sure you're not completely focused on music. Is there anything else that you do as well?
I'm very encapsulated in music. Like, that is like what I'm doing all the time, 24/7. But I'm really into artsy stuff as well. I used to do a lot of drawing. I've been trying to get back into it a little bit. It's just, I got to find the time for it. I'm also really into, like, it's kind of weird because people call me like a grandma, but I'm also into like crocheting. It's kind of like knitting, but not exactly. But I just like love making my own clothes and stuff.
Hey, you know what? I used to crochet. I don't have time to do it anymore. And I actually know Sadea Garrett. I think she might do knitting. I think she does a lot of knitting. So Sadea used to work with Michael Jackson. She was one of his backup singers, and I believe she also co-wrote Man in the Mirror. But she is always, you got to follow her on Instagram. You should see some of her knitting creations that she does. I think she does knitting. I think it's more knitting than crochet. But her items, yes, you definitely do, because like some of the things that she posts, I'm just like, girl, she's got some like hand talent there. So find the time to do that, because I used to crochet, and like I said, I just haven't had the time to do it. But,
Right.
That's not weird. That's fun.
I always thought so, but...
Hey, even if it's one of those things that you do on like an airplane to pass the time, I actually have done that stuff on an airplane just to like kind of like pass the time rather than always being on, a phone or a tablet.
Right.
So good for you. I love that. Love it. All right. We're going to share another song for our listeners. Can you tell us about the song Over This?
Yes. So Over This, I wrote early January with my producer, obviously. But I went in with this song, and the song's original idea was it was originally called Love Me More. And the song was sort of about, I really care for this person, but they're just not treating me right, and I need to sort of take a look at my own well-being and care for myself first. And I think that that's an issue that I've struggled with a lot in past relationships and just in my past in general. And there was, I don't want to go into like details of names or anything, but there was a specific situation where I was in a relationship. It was a friendship, but I just felt like I wasn't totally being treated correctly. And I just felt like always I was trying to live up to something. And even if I did live up to it, there's no way that I was going to be good enough for this person. So I just always felt like I was pretending and I had to hide my true self just because they didn't appreciate it. And that's not okay. And I kind of came to that realization, and we wrote Over This sort of more inspired off of that. And so it's just kind of saying, I'm over this. I'm over not being good enough for you. I'm going to take myself back. And that's what the song's about.
Awesome. This is another brilliant creation. So here is Over This by LeAnn.
I feel like I'm over this. I'm done. I don't understand how somebody can make me this sad when they're not even my friend anymore.
You play games with me. You mess with my head. I hate it. And it's killing me that I have to pretend. I hate it. I was lost in emotion. I wish that I noticed that you didn't love me unless I was someone else. Someone else. I'm over this, 'cause I'm starting to miss who I used to be. And I'm ready to run through the open door. Don't need you anymore. I'm over this. I'm over this. Everybody thought I
another really great song. Very impressed with your songwriting capabilities and your vocals. Truly looking forward to seeing you continue to blossom. I have no doubt that everything that you release is just going to get better and better and better. And massive hats off to your parents for encouraging you to follow this, because they definitely saw something in you. So kudos to them. So excellent. So what's next? Any other releases planned for 2021?
Yes, this is going to be such a packed year. And since I've been telling you, I've been doing so much writing, like it's crazy. I write a lot on my phone. So like I have my voice memos app. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but I use it, and I have like almost 3,000 recordings on my phone of just songs and demos and ideas, and I'm just packed. And I was like, I cannot produce all of this with my producer as much as I want to. I can't produce this many songs. So I kind of decided to take it upon myself. I wanted to do a sort of at-home self-released album, and I'm very, very excited for it. I'm planning for it to be about 15 songs, and I've just been writing so much. It's going to be super acoustic, just me and my piano or me and my guitar for every song, and I'm just going to record it on my voice memos app, and I'm going to release it. So it's not produced at all, just sort of little recordings, and I am so stoked for it. It's all my own writing by myself, and I'm so excited to release it. I hope people are going to like it. And then I have an EP that I co-wrote and produced with my producer, Carter, and that's going to come out probably like November-ish, I would say, again. And then the self-release album I'm hoping to push out during September.
Awesome. Yes, I am very familiar with the Voice Memos app. I actually use it myself. That's another one of my favorite tips to tell people is, when you think about it, you better voice memo it or put it in a note, because when you go to grab it again, it's going to be gone. So that's great. I'm really looking forward to your self-release one.
Me too.
Yep, that's awesome. I can't wait for that. What about shows?
Thank you.
Any show plans, any performance plans coming up in the next couple of months?
So I'm doing Lollapalooza, which don't get it confused with Lollapalooza, because that's not where I am. But it's like a festival that we have in Michigan, and it's like a huge music festival that we do, and that's actually on Saturday. So I'm super stoked for that. And then it's kind of been hard to see forward for other stuff that I'm doing, just because of still people are a little weary with COVID stuff, and it's just like nothing's ever promised right now. So yeah, but I do have New Year's Eve show that is scheduled, and I always do that every year. It's like another huge festival we do here in Michigan, and I'm so excited to play there because it's going to be a good show.
Awesome. Well, we will certainly keep an eye out for anything that potentially pops up as things start opening up, as I know that they are starting to, because I know a lot of people are starting to book things now. So I have no doubt that you will do the same. Before we sign off, anything else you'd like to share with our listeners? What about where they can find you on social media, if you TikTok, all of that fun stuff?
Yeah, so if you guys want to find me on social media, you guys can find me on Instagram at ada.LeAnn, on TikTok at just ada.LeAnn. And then if you guys want to find me on Facebook, you're going to find me at Ada LeAnn's Music. And then for streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you guys listen to music on to listen to my original music and my debut EP, Young Love, you guys can find me at just Ada LeAnn as well.
Perfect. I would like to thank Ada LeAnn for taking the time to chat with me today. It has been a real pleasure. I'm so excited and looking forward to seeing you continue to grow and blossom as a young, budding songwriter and artist. Everyone, thank you for tuning in for Mixing It. On behalf of all of us at the SIMRadio Network, this is Nicki Kris. Until next time, keep on mixing it.